Apparently the card crashed and the camera just didn't decide to record any of that, so it's going to be a funky stop motion animation that, oh god, I'm going to have to edit, which is going to take me less time to edit. I already recorded for 10 minutes. It will probably take me less than 10 minutes to edit it. Okay, we're continuing on. Hey internet! Hi Dio. Hi Molly. Dio, if you could play a guitar right now, what kind of guitar would it be? He's more of a ukulele guy. Welcome to another episode of this show, where I tell you but parts that you should put on your guitars because you want your guitar to be playing as best it possibly can for the least amount of money. And that's all we want. The best thing for the least amount of money. Today, because I remembered what I said last week, we're going to talk about Ibanez guitars. Now, it's kind of a meme online with Ibanez's naming. The RG5296-B7 with a silent 6 on the end. So I'm not gonna say any of those things because I'll probably get them wrong, give you the wrong information, and you probably won't even know what guitar I'm talking about. So we're just gonna talk kind of generalizations of Ibanez's styles. So when we're talking about an RG, which is their super strat kind of guitar like this, it will have a couple different bridges and we'll go over the different variations on that. If we're talking about other guitars, they have other guitars, I'm pretty sure, then we'll talk about those ones. They do have a couple weird kind of one-off things, and I'll try and touch on as many of those as possible. If you have any questions or if I missed any, because Ibanez has been around for a long time, leave them down below, or you should be able to kind of equate everything I'm going to say to another style of guitar, because they kind of do have like maybe 10 different archetypes and just kind of pull from each one. So anyway, if you're wanting to replace the nut on your Ibanez, and it is not a Floyd Rose, so it's not a locking nut like this, and it is kind of thicker, so like a 1/4 inch or 6 millimeter thick, so about the thickness of a pencil. If it's about the thickness of a standard number 2 pencil, how thick are pencils? I haven't picked up a pencil in like 12 years, but back in my day when we had pencils and wrote on paper, back in the dark ages. Hey Google, how thick is a pencil?
Around 6 millimeters.
Hey!
CW pencils.
Alright, that's enough. Hey Google, stop.
There's a few different schools when it comes to size. A standard pencil.
Alright, well now we all know that there's such thing as a mini jumbo pencil, just to throw extra confusion into literally everything. But hey, 6 millimeters thick. So, if you're looking at a standard size pencil, not the Japanese mini jumbo pencil or the European hair pencil or whatever the hell she just said, then you'll want to go for the PT6643. And that'll be pretty much a drop-in replacement. Might be a little bit taller than you need, but you can easily just sand that down with some 400 to 600 fine grit sandpaper, and that'll be a drop-in replacement. Once again, if you do have a Floyd Rose locking nut and you are wanting to replace that, our nuts are impregnated with Teflon or PTFE, because Teflon is a trade name, and they are permanently lubricated to help with tuning stability, so the strings won't get stuck in the nut slots. And also our tusk material is a very resonant material made specifically for guitars, so it is going to help with that vibration transfer down to the neck. And even though it is a small piece of material, you will feel a pretty big difference in just the sustain and vibration in the neck when you are fretting and stuff like that. So if you are wanting to replace that, we don't make a pre-slotted nut, but one of our blanks can be made to fit into the slot that a Floyd Rose locking nut leaves, and a local tech or luthier should have no problem using something like the PT4025 blank and shaving that down for you. Now if you're looking at the nut and it's a bit thinner, so like a Fender style nut, it's going to be around 3 mil or 1/8 of an inch, or the thickness of, I don't know, 3/4 on top of each other. So for example, the Ibanez Tallman, which is not a RG66420, it actually has a name, will be using the Fender style nuts, the thinner ones. So that'll be the PT5043, and that'll be a drop-in replacement on that. So if you have, of course now my brain is fried with the stress of Canon cameras, so thanks for that one, bud. Now, if you are wanting to replace the saddles on your Ibanez because you're breaking too many strings or breaking strings at all, and you want a little more resonance and a little more sustain, and you want the best saddles in the world, and you want them to be more well-rounded and even, and also to be impregnated with Teflon so you can make impregnation jokes, I don't know, with your saddle impregnate. Anyway, there's potential for jokes. None of them really good. Whatever gives you an excuse to make terrible dad jokes on stage or in a van is warranted purchase in my books. So if you are wanting any of those 7 or more things, then you'll probably want to look at our string saver saddles. They're called string saver saddles because they'll save your strings. Floyd Rose stuff, which is on a vast majority of a bunch of Ibanez stuff. They're all Floyd Rose spec because they're made in cahoots with Floyd Rose, so they're all licensed and are the correct sizings and all up to snuff. Anyway, so for that it would be the PS0080- whatever color you're wanting, and they come in either our Ghost, Piezo, acoustic saddles or the string saver saddles, and will be drop-in replacement. They've got a hinge on one side and then a blade, so if the post spacing is slightly wider or narrower than standard, they'll still work on there, no problem. If you do not have a Floyd Rose like this, and you have kind of a Strat style, or I guess Ibanez style, or hip shot, whatever, tremolo style, hardtail like this, then there's a couple different variations. There's the Gibraltar bridge, which is kind of offset to the one side, and if it's offset to the side like this, then you will need the PS8000-00 saddles. And those are also available in the String Saver Classics, which is a metal version with just a string saver insert, so it does have the bite of a metal saddle and is as harsh as the normal metal saddle, not as well rounded or not as much sustain or resonance, but you keep that spiky sound of a metal saddle. So those will be the PG 8000-00. Now, a lot of the Ibanez's will have those bridges on them. There are a couple that have, I believe they're called a Gibraltar bridge, where they're kind of rounded over. I think they're like Misha Mansour, I don't know, like bridge like this, kind of rounded, a little softer for palm muting and stuff like that. They have saddles that are open in the back, have an offset screw. Normally we have an offset saddle for that, but those ones are a little different because they are open in the back, so the string actually needs to pass through where the back bit is. So we have saddles that don't have the back bit. We solved that problem. Those are the PS 8002-R0 or RO. The left-handed version is, calm down. Left-handed version is the same, just 8002-LO. Now, for the Gibson style Ibanez's or the Dots or the Les Paul style ones that they do have a few that use a Tune-o-matic bridge or Tune-o-matic style bridge. They tend to kind of be all over the place. They have a lot of proprietary bridges, and most of them use standard size posts, so they are replaceable with common spec'd hardware. So it mainly comes down to the posts that the bridge stand on, and for, if you just look at them, and again 6mm, so about the thickness of a standard pencil, you will need the PS8863 bridges. Those are a 6mm post bridge. They do have a couple, here's where it gets weird, they do have a couple that are a 4mm post bridge, so a Gibson style one. So they have a narrower post that the bridge sits on. So normally we would recommend a narrower post bridge, so the PS8843, but the bolts that screw into the body of a lot of the Ibanez's will be the same size as the 6mm post bridges. Normally 4mm and 6mm, if you're thinking Gibson versus Epiphone, Gibson will use imperial threads and Epiphone will use metric threads. The rest of the world will use metric threads. Gibson will use a smaller post with a different thread, and Epiphone and literally everyone else will use a larger post and a different larger thread. Ibanez, they will use the larger metric thread but have kind of the smaller post. So it kind of looks like a Gibson, but then when you actually start unscrewing it, it's got a big bolt in it that's going in it. It's a metric standard thread. So just to be safe, assume that it's metric, and it is the larger post. Once you start unscrewing the post out of the guitar, it will be the larger metric post. So the PS8863 will most likely be what you need. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us or Ibanez just to get any clarification on that. And if there's any issues, if you bought a bridge and it didn't fit, don't hesitate to reach out. We can do an exchange or refund if you bought it from us or anything like that. And it goes same with the tailpieces. Tailpieces are a bit more straightforward because they will just be using the metric posts. So if you're wanting to upgrade the tailpiece, that'll be the PS8893- whatever color code you're wanting. Now, for the tuners. If you're wanting the best tuners in the world, because our tuners, they are the only tuners in the world that have a different gear ratio on each string so that each string reacts the exact same to any tuning adjustments that you make. So the A string and the E string and the F string and the Jizz string will all react the exact same to any tuning adjustments that you're making on your guitar. And they all come with 5 different sets of mounting plates for free in the box, made out of our brushed aluminum material, so they're pretty cheap for us to manufacture, so we can give them to you for free. So you don't have to do any Swiss cheesing of your headstock to get them onto your guitar. You don't have to do any drilling or filling, and they'll adhere to most screw positionings that are on most guitars, unless it was like some crazy guy who was just like, I gotta put these screws on, and everyone was like, why would you do that? We have standardized things so that people know what is happening. And he's like, whatever, man, I don't want to step to your groove, dad. And then he got kicked out of the house. Anyway, Ibanez is pretty straightforward. For all the 6-in-line guitars, they will be using either the exact same 2-pin mount that all of our tuners will be using, so the PRL 8721- whatever color you're wanting will be a drop-in replacement, or they will be an offset screw, so that'll be 45-degree angle right off the side like this. Very common. Those will come for free in the box, and they're brushed aluminum. We also have the premium versions available if you're wanting different finishes and materials and all that fun stuff. And those are the PRT 952-214, and will be a drop-in replacement. The background was blown out, so I moved my ND filter a little bit. Anyway, if you have a guitar that is a 3x3 headstock, like their dot style guitars, what are they called? It's a artist. Anyway, art's in the name and it looks like a dot. Yeah, the Tallman also have a 3x3 headstock. They will use sort of a Grover style, so the screw is right in the center, right below the body of the tuner. Those are also included for free in the box. Those will be 3x3 tuners, so obviously you will need different ones than the 6-in-line ones. So if you look at the headstock, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you will need the PRL 8341- whatever color you're wanting. And for any of the extended range stuff, we do have 7-string nuts. That'll be the PT 6748. That'll be a drop-in replacement for the nut. For the saddles, any of the saddles that I just were mentioning, we can do 7-string versions of that. So we just give you another saddle, well, for money. And for the tuners, most of them are going to be 7-in-line. So it'd be the same part number, the PRL 8721- whatever color you're wanting, so B for black, C for chrome, G for gold, but 7 at the end, so it'd be a B7 or a C7, so on and so forth. That'll be the 7-string version of our ratio tuners, and they will have, I think, a 48-to-1 on the low B string. So yeah, still half turn, half tone on every string, no matter what string you're using. And that pretty much sums it up for Ibanez stuff. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, you can leave them right down below. You can hit the dislike button if you didn't like it. I don't know why I led with that, because now we're going to go to the good stuff. If you liked it, hit the like button. It's right there, and it lets us know that, you watched this. And if you are new here, hit the subscribe button. We come up with videos every week, and sometimes more. But anyway, I'll see you next week. Party hard.